Hey everybody, Cutie Bunny here, and I'm going to be reading through the story of Crimson Destiny, the Awakening event. Sit back, relax, and let's get started. Alright, Prologue. You know, whenever you swing the sword, it felt as if you were cutting through something invisible, and the sound of the blade slicing through the air was just so exhilarating. That must be why I pestered you so much. Every single day, I begged you to spar with me. Even when I picked up the sword because I wanted to beat you, I found myself simply enjoying the fact that I could cross blades with you. Each time our blades clashed, I couldn't help but feel a sense of joy. I almost wanted to laugh, and though I held back, I wanted to let it all out and savor the moment with you. Huh? In the house of the ruling family of the Aryan Republic, the Silverstein estate, a spirited voice echoes through the halls. It belongs to Sienna Silverstein, the Duke's second daughter. At just 16, she is still a swordsmanship trainee, sparring with her older sister, Darian, the family's top sword fighter. Phew, this time I'll definitely win. Hi-ya! Sienna swings her sword hastily, her movements tense and impatient. Meanwhile, Darian effortlessly counters, her expression calm and unhurried. There it is again, that relaxed smile. No matter how out of breath I am, my sister always looks composed and even smiles. I know how this ends, every single time. Growing tired, Sienna musters all her remaining strength for one final attack. Darian nimbly evades it, spinning her body, and parries with ease. The clash of their blades sends one sword flying, clattering weakly to the ground moments later. It was Sienna's sword, a standard blade used by all knights of the Aryan Republic. I always lose. Sienna peers down at the sword lying at her feet. To her, it looks as plain and unimpressive as her skills. Sienna, your movements are getting sharper. Your stamina has improved too. I was having trouble blocking your attacks. Stop lying. Huh? Me lying? You're not serious, right? You didn't even break a sweat. But you said you were having trouble blocking my attacks? That's a lie. Sienna, I've always said, one day you'll surpass me as a sword fighter. Until that day comes, I'll always help and support you. It's something I wholeheartedly believe, so remember, even if you lose your sword, you must always pick it up again as if nothing happened. Darian picks up the fallen sword and places it gently back into Sienna's hands. Sienna looks down at her sword, just an ordinary, all-too-common, standard issue in the Aryan Republic. Then she turns her sights on her sister's sword. Blade, also known as the Violet Glory, is a family treasure, a weapon given to the best sword fighter of the Silverstein household. Right now, my sword and I are both small and insignificant compared to you and Blade. I know that. But just wait and watch. I'll grow to be as strong as you. Strong enough to earn Blade for myself. Darian chuckles, finding her little sister's stubbornness endearing. She reaches out and gently pats Sienna's head. Stop treating me like a kid. You always pat my head, and that's why I'm not growing any taller. Sienna, do you think your height will suddenly change just because I stopped patting you on the head? Don't worry, when I was your age, I was short too. Once you turn 20, you'll grow as tall as I am. No, you'll be even taller than I am. It's not something you can guarantee. It's fine, you don't need to comfort me with empty reassurances. Just evaluate me honestly, like Father does. That way, I can improve faster and impress him. Darian's warm smile falters slightly at the mention of their father. Her expression hardens with a look of discomfort. Sienna, if you can't shine as brightly as you should, that's partly my fault. All the hair training and opportunities to be mentored by the best masters, they were all given to me. If you'd had those privileges, you'd have surpassed me long ago. There you go again. You've told me this so many times. I'm sick of hearing it. Stop talking like mother. Just quit saying things that don't really help. After snapping back, Sienna realizes she's lowered her head without meaning to. She didn't want her sister to see her face twist with sadness. You're right, I do sound like mother. That's why, unfortunately, when it comes to looks, you'll never beat me. Hearing the playful tone in Darian's voice, Sienna looks up. As always, Darian's face is lit with a gentle, comforting smile. Cut it out with those lame jokes. Oh, did it sound like a joke to you? For a moment, a complex emotion flickers across Darian's face, something Sienna can't quite read. Sienna, my advice might not make sense to you now, but someday you'll understand what I mean. There it is again, that expression I can't figure out. I want to ask why she looks like that. But for some reason, I just can't bring myself to speak. Perhaps Sienna doesn't want to comfort the possibility that her sister carries a deeper darkness than she herself does. As always, Sienna chooses to deflect the uncomfortable moment with a pout. What? Do you think I don't know anything? I've got a pretty good idea of what's going through your head. You spar with me to pass on the techniques you've learned, right? Darian, always kind and patient, smiles warmly at her complaining little sister. Well, look at that. My little sister is quite perceptive. Let's go again. Sienna readies herself, gripping her sword tightly as she points it at Darian. I won't give up. I'll keep challenging you until I can beat you. Come at me. I'll always be ready for you. Alright, episode 1. Whenever the two sisters' blades clash, the sharp metallic screech of the friction between them rings out. Suddenly, a voice harsher and more cutting than the ringing of steel echoes through the air. What is the meaning of this? Father, the voice belongs to the head of the Silverstein family, and father to the two sisters, the Duke of Rien. Long ago, the Silverstein family put down a rebellion in Rien and were granted the title of Grand Duke by the Empire. Preserving that honor and dignity with utmost care is both the duty and destiny of the family's successors. Among the Dukes of Rien, Sienna's father is renowned for his particularly cold and meticulous nature, gaining a reputation for strict control over his daughters. I explicitly forbade sparring between you two. How dare you defy my orders? Father, Darian isn't to blame. I was the one who insisted on sparring. It's my fault. Sienna, I won't hear excuses. Be silent. At the sharp tone of his voice, Sienna shrinks back. The Duke then began to hurl reproaches at Darian. Darian, as the future head of the Silverstein family, an elder sister, have you lost all judgment? Have you learned nothing from the lessons from your masters and the histories of the past? Do you not understand that this childish folly of yours could one day spark a succession conflict? Darian stands frozen on the spot, as if stunned by a harsh strike. After a long, heavy silence, she finally says what she has likely uttered hundreds, if not thousands of times before in her life. I'm sorry, Father. Why? You didn't do anything wrong. And Father, a succession conflict? I have no desire to be head of the family. All I want is to become as great a sword fighter as my sister. That way, you'll finally acknowledge me and... Despite Sienna's tearful outburst, the Duke remains cold and unyielding. A great sword fighter, that is a role decided by the family. And I am the only one with the authority to make that decision. Let me remind you once again, Sienna, your role is not to wield a sword. Your duty is to straighten the foundations of the family through marriage to another noble house. That is the calling you must fulfill for the Silverstein family. Do you understand? Father, I've already told you that's not what I desire. I can bring greater glory to the family than just marriage. As a member of this family, I want your recognition. How do you expect to bring glory to the family and earn my recognition while defying my will as the head of the Silverstein family and ruler of this domain? Facing her father's unwavering stance, Sienna finds herself at a loss for words. But Father... Enough. All of this is an inevitable decision for the good of the family. Now, the Duke's wrath turns towards Darien. And you must be so thorough and flawless as the family's heir. Why is it that you showed such a leniency only toward your sister? Do not forget your role. As the Silverstein blade, you must always... Darien unconsciously finishes her father's sentences with mechanical precision. In every situation, maintain restraint and exercise cold judgment. Even if others fear you and label you cruel. These are the principles passed down to the heirs of the Silverstein family. Despite knowing them so well, have you allowed yourself to be swayed by your sister's petty whims? Must you tarnish the family's honor and dignity before you realize the folly of your ways? Sienna, should you defy me again, I will confiscate your sword and send you to your maternal grandparents' estate in the Empire. Her father's chilling gaze leaves Sienna frozen. She bows her head, not wanting to look him in the eye. For a moment, she locks eyes with her sister. Darien's expression is unreadable, an empty mask, as if she wants to feel nothing at all. Neither of you are yet worthy members of this family. Darien, come to my study. I will make sure you do not repeat this mistake. As the two depart, hot tears well in Sienna's eyes. She forces them back and grips her sword tightly. Sienna swings her sword fiercely, as if trying to shake off the sorrow, but before long, her strength gives out and she collapses to her knees. How pathetic. Whenever I feel like this, the sword feels impossibly heavy. I can't move it like I want to. I remember what Darien told me once. I must think of myself and the sword as one. If I cannot control myself, I cannot truly master the sword. She meant I must not wield the sword with emotion, didn't she? But I still have so far to go. I can't even focus on training because of how sad and frustrated I feel. How am I supposed to wield a sword when I can't even control my own emotions? If I could just carve out these pitiful emotions, would I become a better sword fighter? Sienna slowly rises to her feet and begins walking. She arrives at a small room tucked away in the corner of the estate. A place filled with memories of her father gently telling her old stories, her mother singing softly, and moments of holding hands and dancing joyfully with her sister, unburdened by swords. Now the room is layered thick with dust. The fireplace long extinguished and cold. In the corner of the room hangs a faded portrait of a woman softly smiling, someone who can never be met again. Mother. When Mother was here, Father always smiled. Sienna sinks into the armchair her mother used to favor. Sitting here, it feels like I can still smell her. It's so comforting, like being held in her arms. I can't help but close my eyes. Exhausted from her sparring with Darien and her father's rebuke, Sienna soon drifts into a deep sleep. Episode 2. Where am I? I can't see anything. It's that dream again. The dream where I'm alone in crimson darkness. Why do I keep having this dream? Sienna. That voice. Who is it? Wake up, Sienna. It's Darien. Sienna, wake up, Sienna. As she opens her eyes, Darien is looking at her with a worried expression. Are you sleeping in this room without heat? You could have caught a cold. Darien? I knew you'd be here. Whenever you're struggling, you always come here. Yeah, it's the only place traces of Mother remain. After she passed away, Father erased all traces of her from the estate. But he left this place untouched, although he never comes here. Sienna gazes at the portrait above the fireplace. Her mother's eyes are as vividly blue as a clear, cloudless sky. Even though it's just a painting, looking into her eyes, sometimes it feels like my troubled heart becomes clear. Why can't Father see that? He always avoids speaking about her. Even though she's gone, just seeing her face gives me strength. Father hasn't been able to accept it yet, that Mother is gone. Darian, do you think Father will ever go back to how he was? Darian doesn't answer immediately. She just looks at Sienna with a sorrowful expression. Sienna shifts her gaze to her sister. Darian's sky blue eyes, so similar to her mother's, are looking right at her. But unlike their mother's clear and vivid eyes, Darian's carry a faint glimmer of sadness. As if she is trying to hide tears, Darian closes her eyes gently. She takes a deep breath and finally responds. It's unlikely Father will ever return to the way he was. I knew it was a pointless and foolish question. Sienna, I understand why you said that. You miss the Father who used to look at us with warmth. I know you miss him terribly. Sienna lets out a deep sigh. But what good does missing him do? Right now, all Father cares about is the family. I don't even matter to him. If I want to gain his respect, the only way is to grow strong enough to be useful to the family. At least that way, I won't be the daughter who's a thorn in his side. That way, he won't use a marriage alliance as an excuse to cast me aside. Sienna's self-deprecation makes Darian shake her head fiercely. She reaches out and gently caresses her sister's cheek. A thorn in his side? Never. Even if Father seems cold, his love for you hasn't changed. He doesn't care about me at all. He's always too busy paying attention to you. Darian's fingers tremble slightly as they brush Sienna's cheek. But Sienna seems unaware of her sister's unease. Even so, I'm not upset with you. Father worries that I see you as a rival. But with Mother gone, you're the only one I could confide in. Sienna suddenly blushes, fumbling over her words. That's why I'm always so grateful. Sienna's cheeks turn beet red, as if almost ready to burst. Darian watches her as she breaks into a playful smile. Sienna, your face is exactly like when you were a baby. You look like a you looked like a little red-faced beet, scrunching up your face and wailing. My little sister's all grown up, but some things never change, huh? Oh geez, stop teasing me. Darian, finding her sister's pouting adorable, gives her a soft smile and gently pats her head. I said stop treating me like a child. Oops, my mistake. You said not to pat your head, right? I forgot about that. You're impossible. After a brief pause, Darian hesitates before speaking. Sienna, do you remember what Father said earlier? About sending you to our maternal grandparents' estate in the Carian Empire? Would you consider it? It might be for the best. Hearing Darian, Sienna's face, which had been warm with embarrassment, instantly freezes over. Are you serious? Sienna shoots up from her seat, her mother's armchair behind her shaking precariously. Darian grabs her sister's arm before she can storm off. Let go of me. You agree with Father, don't you? Sienna, calm down and listen. I just thought you might have more freedom there. At least you wouldn't be under Father's control. Don't say that. Don't act like you or Father have the right to make decisions for my life. Sienna tries to wrench her arm free, but she fails to overcome Darian's strength. Grimacing in pain, Sienna glares at her sister. However, Darian isn't looking at her. Instead, Darian's face is clouded, as if peering into a deep darkness within herself. Then, as if resolving something internally, she shuts her eyes tightly. Perhaps as a reflex of her emotions, her grip on Sienna's arm tightens further. Ow, you're hurting me. Sorry, Sienna. Actually, I have something to tell you. At that moment, a deafening vibration rocks the castle, followed by the shrill blast of a horn that seems to rend the air. That sound is the horn calling for soldiers to assemble. Someone's infiltrated the castle? I'll go check and see what's happening. Sienna, hide somewhere safe. Didn't I just say not to tell me what to do? I won't run away. As a Silverstein, I'll face this too. Sienna shoves Darien aside and bolts from the room. Sienna! Episode 3. Sienna bursts from the room and runs alone to the castle gates. The scene unfolding before her eyes leaves her in shock. Fires blaze everywhere. The screams of soldiers and the clash of swords merge into a chaotic symphony of violence. Strangely, there is no visible enemy troops. Only the Silverstein soldiers are present, their vacant expressions hollow as they attack one another. What's going on? Why are you fighting each other? Sienna's shouts ring out unheard, drowned out by the soldiers who continue their frenzied battles. This must be a rebellion, but where's Father? Sienna frantically scans the area, searching for her father, who should be handling the situation, but is nowhere to be found. Just then, Darien, who had followed her sister, grabs her arm firmly. Sienna, this place is dangerous. You must find somewhere safe. Before Sienna can process the sudden pain of the grip, Darien suddenly releases her arm as if her strength has left her. This is... Darien stands frozen, her eyes wide with horror at the scene before her. That's right, this must be a rebellion, right? A rebellion has broke out. Father isn't here. What if he's in danger? We need to find him quickly. Darien, why are you just standing there? This isn't the time to freeze up. Sienna tries to shake Darien out of her stupor, grabbing and pulling her arm desperately. But despite Sienna's urgency, Darien remains motionless, staring blankly as if transfixed by the carnage. What is wrong with you? This isn't like you. The time has come. What are you talking about? We don't have time for this nonsense. A strange gleam flickers in Darien's eyes as she mutters in an unusually exhilarated voice. Under the violent sunset, with the castle burning and soldiers stabbing and killing each other madly, I've seen this sight hundreds, no, thousands of times in my dreams. Today is the day it comes true. What are you talking about? Snap out of it. My destiny, which I saw in my dreams, it's being fulfilled today. With an expression of wild exhilaration, Darien whispers heatedly before dashing into the chaos, leaving Sienna no time to stop her. Darien? Darien, where are you going? Sienna tries to chase after her, but the chaotic crowd sweeps her away and she loses sight of her sister. Soon a group of soldiers approach Sienna. Their large, intimidating frames make Sienna look even small in comparison. Damn it! Are you going to attack me? Sienna hastily draws her sword, pointing it at the advancing soldiers. Her hands tremble with tension, making it difficult to hold it steady. Get a grip, Sienna. As a member of this family, you must uphold order. Those who rebel must face immediate execution. It was then that Sienna realized something. She had never taken a life before. Am I supposed to kill them? Am I even capable of that? The soldiers draw closer, and Sienna's entire body begins to tremble with anxiety and fear. Suddenly, Darien's advice echoes in her mind. No matter the emotion, no matter the situation, your sword must never waver. That's right, I just need to focus on what this sword must do on the battlefield. Sienna's trembling stops. She grips the hilt of her sword firmly, as if it is an extension of her own arm. Yeah! With a sharp cry, Sienna charges at the soldiers, their swords all swing toward her at once. In that brief moment, Sienna analyzes their movements, calculating the angles and direction of each attack. Instinctively, she ducks, dodging the oncoming blades, and in one swift motion, strikes down one soldier, then another, and another. When she finally regains her senses, all the soldiers surrounding her are lying on the ground. Did I really do that? Looking at the fallen soldiers, Sienna still can't believe what she did. She had only ever faced her sister Darien, the family's greatest sword fighter. To Sienna, Darien was always an insurmountable opponent. But now, for the first time, Sienna realizes the amount of skill she has acquired through countless sparring matches with her sister. I can do this. If only Father could have seen me. No, this isn't the time for that. I need to find Father and Darien. For the first time, Sienna no longer feels afraid to fight. With her newfound determination, she grips her sword tightly and leaps into the fray. Episode 4. The castle gates, the banquet hall, the courtyard, the command tower, her father's office, and even his chambers. Sienna searches every possible place her father might be. As she moves from place to place, cutting down any soldiers who attempt to interfere with her, Sienna subconsciously begins counting the lives she has ended. 10, 20, 30, she has already slain so many, yet her father is nowhere to be found. I am back here again. Where could Father be, and Darien too? The two people who should be commanding the soldiers in this chaos? Sienna scans her surroundings once more. There is no semblance of order or loyalty left in sight. No rebels, no soldiers defending the family, and only chaos. Like a madman fighting to die, the soldiers continue to attack one another, blades clashing without rhyme or reason. With pallid faces and unnatural movements, they seem bewitched, leaving the scene incomprehensible to her no matter how long she watches. Someone must be controlling them with magic. But who could be behind this rebellion? No, there's no time to think about that. I need to find Father now. Suddenly, a location comes into Sienna's mind. Could he be in that room? Resolving to confirm her suspicions, Sienna hastens towards the room in her thoughts. Cutting down any soldiers blocking her path through the central courtyard and the entrance of the estate, she accelerates toward her destination, the urgency growing with each step. When she finally reaches her mother's room, Sienna shoves the door open with force. The room, once filled with memories of her family's happiness, had become a bloody battlefield. At the center of that battlefield, standing alone with sword in hand, was her father. You dare! Have you forsaken the Silverstein family's honor? Speak, traitors! Who is the mastermind behind this rebellion? The Silverstein Duke, exhausted and worn, is surrounded by soldiers, forcing him into a corner. His body, already battered from countless battles, is covered in wounds and bloodstains. Father! Sienna! Without hesitation, Sienna charges into the fray, her sword flashing with relentless fury. One soldier falls, then another and another. Sienna skillfully dispatches them one by one without showing any signs of fatigue. After cutting down the last soldier, Sienna meets her father's astonished gaze. For the first time in her life, Sienna feels the recognition in his eyes, the acknowledgement she has always yearned for. Sienna, but how? Father, are you alright? Instead of answering, the Duke reaches out to check Sienna for injuries. I searched everywhere for you and Darien. Are you unharmed? I'm fine, Father. I'm unscathed. Which is true. Sienna, despite cutting down well over 30 soldiers, hasn't sustained a single injury. But, Father, I can't find Darien. She muttered something strange earlier, then ran off. I haven't been able to locate her since. What? In the midst of all this chaos? I thought she would be protecting you and ensuring you take shelter in this room. The Duke's face betrays his unease, and for a fleeting moment, the word destruction flashes through Sienna's mind, conjuring the worst possible scenario. Father, our family, what will happen to us? I've never heard of anything like this in the history of warfare. Everything's acting so strangely. Sienna's lips begin to tremble with anxiety. It feels as though no one will be left alive. Silence, Sienna. Reflect on the many rebellions in our family's history. Has our family ever been defeated? The Silverstein family has never surrendered victory, not once. As long as you and Darien survive, this family will never fall. Therefore, you and I must find your sister and devise a way to overcome this ordeal. Yes, Father. The Duke firmly grips Sienna's shoulders and nods. His gaze is filled with the warmth and affection Sienna has been longing for. Sienna places her hand over his and meets his gaze. In that brief moment, the years of strained misunderstandings between them seem to dissolve like melting snow. Wordlessly, they finally understand each other. Just as in the days when his wife was still alive, the Duke smiles faintly. He opens his mouth as if to say something, but before he can speak... Oh no. A torrent of blood pours from the Duke's mouth, silencing him. Frozen in shock, Sienna's eyes follow the path of the sword that appeared through her father's chest. The sword of honor given only to the family's greatest sword fighter, the sole weapon capable of piercing the Silverstein Duke's armor. Known as the Violet Glory, the weapon called Blade, and its wielder... Now it is finished. Darian Silverstein, the Duke's eldest daughter and Sienna's sister. Father! Sienna drops her sword and catches her father as he collapses. The Duke's lips tremble as if to speak, but only blood pours from his mouth. At last, his wavering eyes come to a halt, and Sienna feels as though her own breath has stopped with him. Biting her lips, Sienna manages to choke out a question. Darian, why? Darian gazes calmly down at Sienna as though nothing happened. Approaching, she picks up the sword Sienna dropped and gently places it back into her sister's stiffened hands. Sienna, I told you, didn't I? Even if you lose your sword, you must always pick it up again as if nothing happened. Darian's eerily composed voice snaps the last thread of Sienna's sanity. Ah! Sienna charges at her sister, swinging with all her might. Darian's sword blade effortlessly blocks her sister's attack. Sienna, such an impressive surprise attack. I almost failed to parry it. Answer me! Why did you kill father? Sienna screams as she attacks relentlessly, but her attacks are futile. Darian blocks every strike. Through all the countless sparring sessions, Sienna was never able to find an opening in her sister's defenses. Even now, it is still the same. As she swings her sword with everything she has, Sienna knows deep down that she will lose. Yet she continues to struggle against Darian, hoping to land even a single blow. Do I even have it in me to harm my sister? A sudden realization makes Sienna hesitate. Hatred for her sister, a thirst for revenge, a clear intent to kill. For the first time, Sienna allows these dark emotions to take root in her heart. The sound of slicing flesh snaps Sienna out of her thoughts. She touches her cheek and finds warm blood trickling down. Sienna, you let your guard down. Even as she stares at her own blood, Sienna can't believe it. Her sister, who had never once lashed out in violence or spoken harshly to her, had now drawn blood with the very blade that had killed their father. Overwhelmed, Sienna collapses to the floor. It appears this sword is no longer necessary. The fate that was written has now been fulfilled. Darian carelessly discards blade. With a clang, blade hits the ground with a metallic cry, echoing in Sienna's shattered emotions. Without looking back, Darian walks out of the room. Sienna remains frozen, trembling as though she might shatter like glass. No. Sienna crawls towards the discarded blade with shaking hands. This can't be. Blade faintly glimmers as if waiting for Sienna to grasp it. The sword she long desired. A sword so massive and heavy she feared it was beyond her. A sword she should have earned by defeating her sister. A sword now stained with her blood and that of their father. Blade. In the end, Sienna clutches the sword and approaches her father's lifeless body. Father, I will protect our family. She cuts a piece of her father's blood-soaked garments and tucks it deep into her uniform pocket. And I will defeat my sister. Unable to finish her sentence, Sienna stumbles out of the room, chasing after Darren, who headed for the castle gates. Episode 5. A dim twilight paints the sky and land crimson. As if trying to cool the heat, a cool wind begins to blow. The state, now devoid of chaos, is enveloped in silence. None remain awake to see. Only the dead or those unconscious remain. At the castle gates, surrounded by the countless corpses, Darien stands alone. Bathed in the final rays of sunlight disappearing beyond the horizon, her silver hair flutters in the breeze. She gazes intently at the blazing sun, as if waiting for something. At that moment, Sienna appears, clutching blade in her hands. She shouts with all the fury she can muster in her voice. Darien! Darien does not waver when she hears her sister's call. She does not turn to look. She only stares at the sun with a serene, almost wistful expression. Oddly, her calm serenity makes it feel as though Sienna dreamt the fact that her sister killed their father. Sienna slowly, step by step, approaches her sister. Darien, there's no way you'd do something like that, right? There has to be some reason I don't know, right? Or were you being controlled too? Finally, Darien turns to Sienna. Her eyes shimmer with an enigmatic violet glow that mirrors the setting sun. No, Sienna. This was my choice, my destiny. Her expression is profound and inscrutable, one Sienna can't comprehend. Sadness, joy, guilt, satisfaction, all of those emotions are intertwined, like the chaotic blend of countless lights and colors in the sunset. What on earth does that even mean? For so long, I dreamt of this. Someone showed me my fate in those dreams. All I did was bring it to life with my own will, my own hands. Please say something that makes sense. Darien closes her eyes, exhaling softly as if she cannot bear to lock eyes with her sister. No matter how I explain it, you won't understand. For years, I've dreamt of killing Father, thousands of times over and over. At first, I thought they were nightmares. I believed it was my subconscious rebelling against his cold oppression. But it was fate, a future someone decided for me, and one I ultimately chose for myself. With a bitter smile, Darien turns her back on Sienna and looks at the waning sunset. Now, a beautiful flower will bloom to consume the sun. The door of destiny I've long awaited in my dreams will open. As Darien finishes speaking, the winds shift unnaturally, swirling toward a single point. Still stunned and motionless, Sienna looks towards the spot her sister's staring, amidst the dimming sunlight falling on her sister. A single dark ray instantly slashes through the sun, like a fleeting cut. From the fissures, streams of violet waves erupt into the air, resembling molten lava bursting forth. The waves coalesce before Darien, swirling as they begin to grow larger and larger in size. What is that? It looks like an enormous violet flower, ready to devour Darien whole. Look at it, isn't it beautiful? Darien's face is illuminated with indescribable rapture. A thought races through Sienna's mind. I must destroy that ominous thing. She holds blade tightly, as though the weapon is an extension of her body. Ha! With blade in hand, Sienna charges, but she's no match for her sister's strength. Though unarmed, Darien easily strikes Sienna squarely in the chest, sending her sprawling. Ugh. Sienna, winded, collapses weakly to the ground. Her entire body feels paralyzed, unable to move an inch. Sienna, I hope we never meet again. With that cryptic farewell, Darien takes a step forward, leaving her sister behind. Her feet, her legs, her hands, her back, and finally her face, each disappear into the swirling violet waves. Even so, Sienna remains frozen, like an unyielding statue. She can do nothing but gaze endlessly at her sister's disappearing figure. Soon, Darien is completely engulfed, and the swirling waves dissipate like a withering flower. Finally freed from her paralysis, Sienna lets out a cry. No! At the same time, the sun disappears entirely, and dusk gives way to night. In the darkness, the few survivors begin to awaken. Soon, chaos erupts all over once more. What in the world happened here? The Duke has fallen! But what? Find the culprit immediately! Confused and panicked, the remaining people turn to Sienna. Lady Sienna, that sword in your hand. Was that the weapon that struck down the Duke? Lady Darien is nowhere to be found. Could it be that she too has been... Sienna glances down at her trembling hands, covered in blood. Clutched tightly in them, as if it were part of her, is the Sword of Honor, given only to the family's greatest swords fighter, the sole weapon capable of piercing the Silverstein Duke's armor. The sword that killed her father and scarred her face, Blade, and now its owner. No, it wasn't me! Sienna manages to force out the words, but from her cracked and hoarse throat, only faint murmurs escape. Because of this, no one can hear her voice. The agitated soldiers move to restrain her. Arrest the traitor! All at once, the soldiers charge at Sienna. She is left with no choice. To escape the chaos, Sienna swings her sword. She no longer keeps count of those she cuts down. Sienna realizes the grim truth that there is no longer a need to count. Going forward, there will be more people to fall to her sword. Slashing her way through the soldiers, Sienna flees, leaving behind the Silverstein estate, never to return. Amid the darkness, somewhere, a burst of violet light flashes like a star being born. From the womb of the darkness, a dimension gate blossoms like a flower, and from within that gate, Darien emerges. A strange voice speaks, ethereal and unfamiliar. Darien. Though she's never heard it before, it feels like a tender voice from a cherished dream. I've been waiting for you for so long. The words cascade over Darien like a radiant meteor shower. Finally basking in the joy of a moment long yearned for, Darien replies, I've been waiting to meet you, Master of Dreams. Episode 6. Sienna endlessly flees. From the home she can never return to, from the past she can never undo. It feels like she's being drawn into an eternal dark night where morning will never come. She runs tirelessly. How far can she run? She eventually reaches a desolate plain. Exhausted from running, she suddenly stumbles and falls. It hurts. If her sister was still here, she would have reached out and asked, where does it hurt? But now, there's no one to extend a hand to Sienna. Why? Sienna wants to ask, but she already knows. She can no longer ask her sister. Why would you do something like this? What if it wasn't her? What if it was someone else in her place? Maybe the real Darien is being held captive somewhere. If not that, was she always like this? Was she wearing a mask this whole time? Countless questions spill from Sienna's lips, but none find answers. She stares blankly at the sword in her hand. Blade, do you know anything? You were always with her after all. You must know what she was thinking, right? Suddenly, Sienna imagines that if she could somehow become Blade, she might understand everything about her sister. No, I will never understand her. She killed our family and father. The traitor must be dealt with. That's the Silverstein way. I'm the only one of the family left, and the only one who knows the truth about father's death. I'm the only one who can enforce the code. Then it suddenly hits her, the extent of her isolation. The only thing she has left is the Silverstein family sword. Blade, glowing vividly crimson in the darkness. Blade, stained with so much blood, her father's, Sienna's, and that of those the two sisters had slain. Those indelible sins cling to Blade in streaks of crimson. This must be how I look now, just like this sword. Staring at the blood-streaked weapon, Sienna suddenly has an epiphany. One day, this sword will be soaked in more blood. With Darian Silverstein's blood, the woman she could no longer call her sister. Sienna's trembling hands grip Blade even tighter. It's decided then, Blade. According to the code of our family, you and I are bound to avenge our family's blood, our father's blood, with the death of that accursed woman. After swearing vengeance, countless days pass. Sienna wanders in search of Darian. She relentlessly pursues any lead, mysterious figures seen here or rumors of a suspicious woman there. But Darian seems to have vanished into another world. No trace of her can be found. Meanwhile, Sienna lives like a fugitive, constantly at risk. She endures the lecherous looks of strangers, thieves, and villains who stalk her. Not to mention the relentless trackers, endlessly nipping at her heels to capture her for the bounty. Against all odds, Sienna survives. However, she's often consumed by despair, fearing her search will never end. One day, like any other, Sienna is walking alone down a secluded forest path. The forest, unveiled in a mist as thick as the toxic breath exhaled by a fiend, is shrouded in deep shadows. The trees sway silently in the fog. Amid the oppressive silence, the forest seeming to swallow every sound, Sienna senses the presence of trackers. How long are you planning to hide? Show yourselves. 3 trackers emerge from the darkness. Well, aren't you a sharp wrench? We thought we could snatch you before you noticed. Show some respect, will you? That's no ordinary girl. That's the Silverstein heiress. She's got a huge bounty on her head, making her life ever so precious. You've heard, right? 7 or so families teamed up to put a bounty on her head. Oh, I know. With a bounty that big, we could buy a few estates. Shut up. Annoyed by Sienna's curt shout, the trackers begin to sneer and taunt her. So, kid, you don't exactly look like someone with a massive bounty, do you? You're filthy and look pretty pitiful. In that uniform, are you trying to flaunt your status as a fugitive, still wearing that ruined family crest? Stubborn little fool, makes it so much easier to track you down. I wear this uniform because I refuse to forget my family and father. Hearing Sienna's defiant reply, the men burst into laughter. What kind of nonsense is that? What does that even mean? This runt supposedly took down the blade of the Silversteins. At that moment, a violent flash streaks past one of their faces. Ugh! One of the trackers collapses. Blood spills from his face and mouth as they are split by Blade in Sienna's hand. Do not speak of what you do not understand. Huh? She's that fast? Caught off guard by the speed of Sienna's attack, the remaining 2 trackers hesitate. Damn it, I just finished her off already. The 2 trackers let out loud cries as they charge at Sienna simultaneously. The forest is soon filled with the sharp clash of metal and screams of battle. Shortly thereafter, the forest falls silent once more. At Sienna's feet lay the bodies of the trackers. She, on the other hand, remains unscathed. Yet her face looks weary and drained. How much longer? How many more times will I have to go through this? I haven't seen a single trace of the person who truly deserves my wrath. How long will I have to keep fighting these insignificant nobodies in meaningless battles? Her unanswered questions dissipate into the empty forest air. Shaking her head vigorously, Sienna tries to dispel her weakness. No, I can't falter. I'm the only one who can enforce the code. I will find Darian, no, that woman, and with this sword, I'll... Sienna knows that, for now, all she can do is continue searching for Darian. One night, after losing count of the number of days she has been searching for her sister, the acrid scent of smoke stings her nostrils. What is that? The smoke carries the smell of burning homes and the cries of slaughter. There was again that ominous feeling she sensed the day before father died, the same aura surrounding Darian. I have to go there. Darian, that woman might be there. Episode 7. In an unknown, desolate village, flames roar violently as if determined to consume everything, including the minds of those who live there. The villagers, helpless against an invasion of shadowy figures, are subjected to unspeakable horrors, plundering, destruction, and slaughter without mercy. Clad in pitch-black robes which conceal their faces, the warlocks rain destruction as if life itself is an affront to their existence. As Sienna approaches the village and witnesses the chaos, she remains composed. Her only focus is finding her sister, who might be hiding there. Please help me. Such insignificant lives deserve only death. You should feel honored to be offered as a sacrifice to Cocytus. The warlock raises his hand to unleash his magic upon the pleading villager. But before the strike, Sienna appears, slashing her blade through the warlock's magic, shattering it like fragile glass. What the? Who are you? Startled, the warlock fiercely shouts. However, Sienna, undeterred, pays no attention to the question. My sister, no, Darian Silverstein. Where is she? You dare disrupt Cocytus? The warlock sneers, ignoring Sienna. He draws his hands together and begins to chant. The spell he casts weaves blazing flames around him, twisting into fiery arrows that shoot towards Sienna with deadly speed. With a fluid grace, Sienna dodges the arrows and counters with precision, cutting down the half-dozen warlocks attempting to ambush her from behind. How can you evade everything so easily? Let's see how you handle this. The warlock conjures whips made of fire, their heat so intense they can melt flesh and bone. They lash out at Sienna, aiming to bind her. Sienna deflects and cuts through the fiery tendrils one by one. But the flames don't die down, instead flaring more fiercely and targeting Sienna. Soon, fiery whips tightly ensnare Sienna's limbs. Sienna swings her sword desperately, trying to break free, but the magical flames, like entangling vines, refuse to be shaken off. How does it feel? Will you abandon your sword and flee, or will you surrender? Scared speechless, are you? Again, I come searching for my sister, only to find nothing but weaklings here as well. What did you say? And foolish, to top it off. You dare! You don't realize, do you? Not a single thing you just said was right. Let me show you. Sienna steadies her breathing and focuses, as if trying to channel all her blood to Blade's tip. First, I will never abandon the sword, nor will I ever surrender. Summoning her unwavering resolve, Sienna swings her sword, instantly dispelling the flames. Second, I'm not afraid. Your pathetic malice is simply too pitiful to take seriously. The wave of force that erupts from Sienna's sword cuts down the warlock like a felled tree. From the very first moment we met, I knew you were no match for me. Before Sienna's final words are even finished, Blade's edge is already severing the warlock's neck. The severed head falls to the ground, and in its place, more warlocks appear, surrounding Sienna on all sides. However, none dare to attack her. In their terrified eyes, there's an undeniable certainty. Facing Sienna means certain death. Enough! There's no point to more meaningless slaughter. Don't you see? The moment they recognized your power, their will to fight crumbled entirely. Defeating enemies without lifting a sword, in its own way, that too is a skill. It has been a long time since I have come across such promising potential. A figure calmly steps forward from behind the group of warlocks. Unlike the others, he is a middle-aged man with an ordinary appearance. Yet there's something unsettling about him. As Sienna watches him approach, a chill crawls up her spine, unexpected and eerie. Are you their leader? Before arriving at the village, Sienna had sensed an ominous presence in the forest and now realizes it was coming from him. Sienna points her sword at the man and asks, Do you know Darian Silverstein? Oh. Answer me. I'm asking if you know her. His silence only fuels Sienna's growing anger. Unable to contain herself, she charges at him. Yeah! She slashes at him with one swift motion, but strangely, there is no sound of cutting flesh, not a single drop of blood. This can't be. Disbelief consumes her as she swings again. At that moment, something at the man's waist glows crimson, and his body appears to split in two. One half collapses, spitting blood before disintegrating into the air. The other half deftly dodges her sword and remains standing. What is going on? The fallen body vanishes into mist, and the surviving man turns to face Sienna. His eyes glow an eerie red, radiating a sinister and malicious spirit. It feels as if his gaze alone could pierce her very soul. No matter how many times you strike me, you will never kill me. The power to shape the future and seal fate is mine as long as I hold the eye of Atraxus. The power to shape the future? Sienna's gaze falls to the strange object at his waist. For a fleeting moment, she considers that if she had it, she could achieve her goal. In that case, I'll take that artifact from you. She raises her sword and prepares to attack again. As she does, a black mist surges from the man's hands, enveloping Sienna's entire body. The mist inflicts a searing pain as if Sienna's entire body is being consumed by flames. To act without understanding is folly. Did you truly think you could take it from me so easily? The mist from the man's hands coils around her like a crushing grip, tightening around her neck. Choking and teetering on the brink of death, Sienna forces out a stuttering phrase. No, I can't die here. I must live to kill her. Hearing her desperate plea, the man withdraws the mist. Sienna collapses to the ground, gasping for air as he slowly approaches her. Yes, that's right, little lady. The Eye of Atraxus has revealed everything about you to me. The shadows of your past, the darkness you carry within, and above all, what you so desperately desire. Revenge and the power to achieve it. This is what you seek. The man extends his hand towards Sienna. His veiny palm is covered with an intricate web of lines that forms a sinister symbol. One that seems born from the pure malevolence of a demon. I promise to grant your desires. Will you join me? You think I'd believe you? Sienna lunges at him again, but once more the black mist engulfs her vision. Then let me show you the future you desire. Within the mist, an image emerges of Darian's lifeless body, pierced by blade, and gripping the sword is Sienna herself, her vengeance fulfilled. This is... Yes, follow me, and this is the inevitable future that awaits you. As the mist dissipates, the man's piercing gaze locks onto Sienna, his eyes gleaming with the predatory focus of a hunter who has cornered his prey. Who are you? I am Storas, the source of Cocytus and the one who will awaken your true potential. Now tell me, will you join me? Sienna meets Storas' gaze, her eyes steady. His body seems animated not by life, but by force of evil, and a chilling, sinister glow emanates from his face. Never before have I felt such overwhelming malice. Such evil makes my whole body tremble. If I align myself with him, I might become like him. But I clearly saw the future he showed me. A future where I achieve my goal. If I can make that a reality... Fine, I accept your proposal. Storas extends his hand towards Sienna. Sienna places her hand on the sinister markings as if sealing the pact. Episode 8. Sienna follows Storas into an enigmatic facility hidden within a dark cave. Explain, what is this place and who are you? If we're going to work together, I deserve to know at least that much. Very well, I will explain when the time is right. Storas opens a creaky, weathered door. Inside, around a dozen boys are trapped in a pitch-black chamber. Their vacant stares, the results of countless experiments and torture, reveal they have long abandoned sanity. They neither cry nor groan, their empty gazes fixed upon nothing, as though they no longer exist. What have you done? Why are they imprisoned here? They are vessels, tools for achieving my deepest desires. Tools? Storas, who was watching the prisoners, turns his head to fix his piercing gaze on Sienna. His unsettling eyes irradiate an unrelenting malevolence, causing her to instinctively recoil. I am the one destined to awaken a forbidden power sealed away in this world, the divine pioneer who would create apostles to wield that power. Apostles? What are you talking about? Beings who transcend humanity itself. What are you saying? Speak plainly. Allow me to demonstrate. Witness the ability of these beings destined to become apostles. Storas gestures towards two boys in the group. Come forth, show us your strength. At his command, disturbing, unnatural sounds begin to emanate from the boys. The grotesque noise of something breaking through a hard shell, like an insect molting, resonates. From the arm of one of the boys, a sharp, jagged bone protrudes, resembling a beast's fang. The other boy's body hardens, transforming into an unyielding figure like a stone golem. These children hold the immense power of fiends within their fragile, human shells. But their abilities remain incomplete. They are merely imitations. It is rare to find a truly flawless vessel capable of becoming the perfect apostle. Storas turns an eerie gaze on Sienna, evaluating her like a predator would prey. But you, little lady, I have seen it, I have felt it, I have predicted it. The potential within you, the profound darkness in your heart. That darkness will one day be the source of both your ambition and mine. As Sienna listens to Storas, she hesitates momentarily, then breaks the silence. I understand now. You're capable of transforming humans into fiend-like beings with monstrous powers. And you think I am the perfect vessel, the one you've been searching for. So you want me to become like them to fulfill your deepest desires? Will I end up just another pawn to you? Hearing Sienna, Storas lets out a sinister laugh that reverberates through the chamber. What are you afraid of? His eyes gleam with the relentless determination of a hunter who never misses its mark. Dark energy begins to swirl from his hands, spreading like a suffocating mist that consumes Sienna's vision. What am I afraid of? Within the mist, the image of a lifeless body appears. Sienna sees herself, pierced by blade, and holding the sword is the one person she can no longer call her sister, Darian Silverstein. Ah! Sienna screams, her voice heavy with despair and rage, as she struggles against the haunting vision in Storas' black mist. That's right. Failing to exact your revenge, only to fall at the hands of the one you despise most. Could there be a tragedy more fitting for you? Desperate to dispel the vision, Sienna clutches her head and shakes violently. No, I won't. I can't let that happen. Suddenly, Sienna's body stops trembling. Sienna slowly lifts her head, appearing to come to a firm resolution. Her eyes no longer hold trepidation or fear. Fine. Even if I must become a monster, if I can transcend humanity, to seek vengeance. Storas withdraws the dark mist, clearly pleased. At last, you've seen reason. So, this power you claim you'll give me, how do I obtain it? Follow me. A gift awaits you as my chosen apostle. Storas leads Sienna to a heavily locked door secured with a number of chains. With a wave of his hand, the locks fall away effortlessly. Inside lies a beast. Defeat it and drink its blood. That is how you will claim the strength you desire. Sienna briefly imagines herself slaying the fiend, then kneeling to drink its blood. Steeling herself, she grips the handle and pushes open the heavy door. Before her is a dark, narrow passageway, The air reeks of blood and decay, along with the sickening stench of rotting flesh. What's in here? The Serpent King, a basilisk. A basilisk? Are those real? The basilisk, a fiend from the tales Sienna's mother used to tell her when she was a child. A monster that is said to be unkillable, and if anyone dares to slay it, death awaits them. And now you're telling me to kill it? Stora's hands Sienna a vial. This elixir will heighten your senses and sharpen your mind. Without batting an eye, Sienna drinks it. She then feels an inexplicable surge of energy course through her. Stora's then adds quietly, "Oh, and one more thing. Do not look it in the eyes. Its petrifying curse is worse than death. However, its eyes, which serve as its greatest weapon, are also its greatest weakness." Sienna nods, stepping into the corridor. An intense power, unlike anything she has ever felt before, emanates from deep within the passage. A suffocating darkness surrounds her, mingling with the stench of death. Something whose mere existence made mortals quake with fear waits beyond. Walking forward with determination, Sienna focuses slowly on the power she seeks. At the end of the passage, a wide altar dimly lit by torches comes into view. Around it lay scattered bones. The skeletal remains bear the final forms of the departed, frozen in the agony of their final moments. I won't end up like them. That's not how this ends for me. A sinister rustling echoes through the chamber as something massive slithers in the shadows. An ominous hiss follows, ringing in Sienna's ears. Sienna carefully surveys her surroundings, trying to memorize the shape of the space clearly in her mind. Then she pulls out something she has been keeping close, a blood-stained piece of fabric soaked in her father's blood. Using the bloodied cloth, Sienna wraps it around her eyes, determined to fight without seeing, just as Stora's had instructed. From the darkness, the basilisk lets out a roar that shakes the altar, a deafening sound meant to destroy everything. I will kill you and claim your powers. Episode 9. The basilisk, writhing and roaring violently to establish dominance, suddenly falls silent, as if gauging Sienna's resolve and measuring her strength. Even blindfolded, Sienna can sense the basilisk's deadly intent. In the dark altar, the two entities stand frozen for a moment, silently evaluating each other. They hold their breaths, listening intently and attuning to each other's presence. The tension hangs thick until the basilisk makes the first move. The slithering of its scales scraping across the floor echoes in the chamber, but the sound isn't approaching. Rather, it is the noise of the creature coiling itself, preparing to strike. Despite her blindfold, Sienna can vividly perceive the basilisk's movements, sensing his presence dominating the space. Is this the effect of the elixir he gave me? It feels like all my senses are awakening. Even so, since I can't see, the longer this drags on, the more it puts me at a disadvantage. I have to make a decisive strike to finish it in one blow. The basilisk, tightly coiled, suddenly uncoils and lunges at Sienna with its venomous fangs bared. Relying solely on feeling its presence, Sienna manages to turn her body just in time, narrowly dodging the deadly attack. Missing its mark, the basilisk speeds past Sienna and slithers into a corner of the altar, coiling up once more to gather its strength. That was close. I could only avoid its attacks for so long. I need to find an opening before it's too late. Sienna holds her breath, waiting for the basilisk to lunge again. Soon the fiend readies itself and comes barreling toward her with its fangs gleaming. Once again, Sienna deftly evades the attack. The sound of its scaled body brushing past her fills the air. Now! Sienna mounts the basilisk with a deft movement as it passes. Startled, the basilisk thrashes wildly, trying to throw her off. It twists its massive body, moving violently around the space. Sienna clings tightly to its tough scales, enduring the searing pain as they burn her skin. Its scales are poisonous! She begins to crawl up the creature's body, moving toward its head. while it writhes and twists, trying to dislodge her. The poison from its scales soaks into her clothes, then seeps even further into her skin. The basilisk slams his body against the walls and ceiling, trying to shake her off. Each impact jars her, but Sienna holds on with all her might. Even without her sight to aid her, she can feel the sharp edges of the scales cutting into her skin. They leave her bruised and bleeding, the poison causing her flesh to blister and decay. Despite the excruciating pain, Sienna refuses to let go. She climbs the creature's massive body with a firm resolve and desperation. I have to hold on until I've taken down this monster. Finally reaching the top of the basilisk's head, Sienna raises blade high above her. Then she drives her weapon into its eye with all the strength she has left. Roar! The basilisk lets out an ear-splitting scream of agony. It's not over yet. Pulling blade from one eye, she plunges the sword into the other. Roar! The creature lets out another deafening wail before collapsing into the altar with a thunderous crash. As the basilisk's labored breathing stops, Sienna finally unties the blindfold from her eyes. Before her lies the massive, lifeless body of the serpent, many times her size. They said drinking this fiend's blood would grant me immense power. But it's the blood of a serpent. It must be full of deadly poison. If it spreads throughout my body, will it kill me? Sienna briefly hesitates, then quickly but intensely shakes off the feeling. No, if I want power, I have to drink this. Crimson blood pools in the basilisk's eye, where blade is embedded. Cupping her hands, Sienna scoops and drinks some of the blood. The metallic taste coats her tongue as she swallows, allowing the blood to seep into every part of her. Then something strange begins to happen. Her wounds from the battle begin to heal, and her weakened body regains vitality. What is this? Could it also have healing properties? For a moment, she feels no pain, only an odd sense of something foreign and unfamiliar invading her body. But then, as if she has swallowed fire, her tongue, her stomach, and her heart all begin to feel as though they are being consumed by flames. Ah! Her blood boils within her, and she screams for mercy. She writhes in agony, desperately wishing for the torment to end, but the searing pain refuses to subside. Time loses all meaning as she endures what feels worse than death itself. Finally, like a candle being blown out, the pain vanishes and her body falls still. What? This feels... Sienna, still reeling from the pain, mutters and opens her eyes. But as she does, something immense and unshakable seems to shroud her vision. I can't see anything. Trembling, Sienna touches her eyes, trying to force them open and restore her vision, but it is no use. As if submerged in a sea of blood, her eyes are clouded in a darkness that light cannot penetrate. The loss of sight is a side effect of the blood. From the darkness around her, Storace's voice echoes. You know how to restore my vision, don't you? Why aren't you saying anything? What Adeline decrees cannot be undone. But what do you mean? If I can't see anymore, how am I supposed to fulfill my destiny? To gain what you desire, you must endure inevitable loss. Only when you truly accept and understand that, little lady, will you attain true power. Storace mutters under his breath as he turns to leave. Sienna tries to follow, but his presence vanishes almost instantly before she can. No, this can't be. Unable to exact my revenge and now robbed of my eyesight? Blood streams from Sienna's eyes, crimson tears she can't even see. Ah! Her screams of despair echo louder than the basilisk's final roar, filling the empty void of the altar. A tidal wave of hopelessness crashes down on her, drowning her spirit in a red abyss. Lost in the crimson darkness, Sienna finally succumbs to madness. Episode 10. I can't see anything. Am I dead? Or is this the dream I've had since childhood? The dream where I'm alone in the crimson darkness. No, this isn't a dream. This is reality. I've truly lost my sight. Unable to accept the truth, Sienna repeatedly opens and closes her eyes in vain. All she can see is crimson darkness. Why? A sigh escapes her cracked and blistered lips. That breath carries the weight of her despair, yearning, resentment, and guilt all intertwined. In the stillness, Sienna starts voicing her isolated, helpless questions to no one. Why did this happen to me? Is it really impossible to go back to the days when I could still see? If only I could go back. As if sinking into a deep ocean no one can reach, Sienna drifts into a deep slumber. Sienna. That voice, who is it? Wake up, Sienna. Sienna opens her eyes. The place she wakes from her dream is the room filled with memories of her father gently telling her old stories, her mother singing softly, and moments of holding hands and dancing joyfully with her sister, unburdened by swords. Have you fallen asleep here again? That warm voice that used to comfort her, the gentle smile that would thaw her heart, the one Sienna can't bring herself to hate, despite knowing that she should. Deep within her, Sienna longs for her with an aching heart. Darien appears before Sienna, looking unchanged. Behind her stands their father, mother, gazing warmly at the two daughters with gentle, affectionate eyes. Darien, father, mother, does this mean everyone is back just like before? My wish, has it come true? Hearing Sienna, Darien's once kind expression hardens. She closes her eyes as if she can't bear to look at her sister. When she opens them again, her pupils shimmer with an ominous hue, resembling the violet sunset from that fateful day. No. I've come to remind you of what you've forgotten. Darien extends her hand as Sienna's eyes follow it. And there it is, blade soaked in crimson blood, its violet radiance ominous. The sword Darien used to kill her father, the one she used to cut her sister's flesh, and the one that might one day take her own life. This sword belongs to you now. Seeing blade, Sienna's eyes sting as though being burned. She shakes her head violently, stepping back. No, I don't want to be Blade's master. We're back to how things were before, right? Mother and father are alive, aren't they? I don't have to kill you anymore, do I? Darien adjusts her grip on the blade and turns towards their parents. Whew. In one swift motion, she cuts them both down. No! Sienna collapses, screaming, while Darien quietly looks on. She extends blade toward her sister again. I can recreate it as many times as you need, Sienna. The reason you must hold this blade. Now, take blade with you. You and Blade are one. Sienna's mind resists Darien's commands. If she takes the sword, she will inevitably have to kill her sister. But for some reason, her body moves toward Blade almost automatically, as if she cannot resist. Like a beast reclaiming its severed limbs, Sienna advances toward Blade. Time seems to slow down as Sienna carefully steps forward, whispering words with each move. To Sienna, it feels almost like releasing cherished birds from a cage, or finally opening a firmly locked door. You know what, Darien? Darien remains silent. There's something I've always wanted to tell you. You know, whenever you swung your sword, it felt as if you were cutting through something invisible, and the sound of the blade slicing through the air was just so exhilarating. That must be why I pestered you so much. Every single day, I begged you to spar with me. Even when I picked up the sword because I wanted to beat you, I found myself simply enjoying the fact that I could cross blades with you. Each time our blades clashed, I couldn't help but feel a sense of joy, I almost wanted to laugh, and though I held back, I wanted to let it all out and savor the moment with you. But we never did, not once. When I think about that, I just can't bring myself to kill you. I don't have the courage. If I fail to avenge Father, the weight of his death in our family code will haunt me forever. But if I do kill you, will I really be able to brush aside the unbearable guilt? If I get my revenge, will I find peace? Will I be happy? After killing the sister who loved me, the sister I love, will I not regret it? Can I survive that? I can't let go of this yearning. I can't overcome it. How can I live carrying these feelings? Can't I just stay here forever in this dream where everyone is happy? Darian, sister, please answer me. Breaking her silence, Darian finally speaks. Sienna, you can't stay in this dream forever. Didn't I always tell you? You could do it. You can kill all those feelings. You can kill me. Suddenly, crimson darkness envelops her vision. Sienna wakes up and opens her eyes to see the same crimson void. In the blood-red crimson darkness, Sienna begins to crawl. She slowly moves towards Blade, still stuck in the basilisk's eye, as if waiting for her. Even if I lost my sight, I won't let go of my sword. Like a beast reclaiming its severed limb, Sienna slowly advances toward Blade. I must always pick it up again as if nothing happened. To fulfill the destiny I've chosen, to claim vengeance. Her trembling hand reaches for Blade, clutching it tightly, planning to never let it go again. She holds the sword. The sword Sienna so desperately longed for. A sword so massive and heavy that she feared it was beyond her. A sword she should have earned by defeating her sister, now stained with her blood and their father's. The sword destined to claim her sister's life one day has now become a part of her, burdened with the same fate. Yes, Blade. Even as I carried you, I hesitated. I wanted to turn away from my destiny. I swore vengeance, yet I didn't want to bear that fate. But now I understand. My family code can't dictate my destiny. I must decide and fulfill it myself. And you and I can only exist when we are together. The moment she speaks those words, her eyes, shrouded in darkness, finally open. Our sole purpose is revenge, nothing else. Sienna's newly opened eyes burn brightly, glowing like fiery crimson orbs. Epilogue. So, young lady, have you awakened? Storas appears without a sound, approaching Sienna. Your eyes, they burn like crimson embers, fueled by rage and resentment. Sienna silently stares at Storas, her red eyes briefly flicker, transforming into yellow serpent-like slits. At last, I can finally see it. I've been waiting for this moment to meet your eyes, the eyes of the basilisk that see through everything. Now, with those eyes, what do you see, and what will you do? Sienna's vision shifts. She can now see the corruption in his dark soul, his will driven purely by malevolent power. She sees the sinister thoughts destined to bring about the world's destruction and the cruel, inhumane emotions that consume him. I can finally see what you truly are. It seems there is no need for me to explain further then. With the power of those cursed eyes, you can uncover the truth yourself. The world Sienna now perceives is no longer the same as it was before. Or rather, her eyes have fundamentally changed. You will now see what was once invisible, and your sword, like you, will cut even that which cannot be seen. Your blade too has absorbed the venom of the basilisk. So you finally gained the power you desired. You and I shall realize our shared ambition. No, my power isn't complete yet. There are still useless things I must cut away from myself. Storace chuckles softly, intrigued by her answer. Oh, then I shall provide you with whatever you need. Storace traces a circle in the air. Along its path, a clear, cold outline materializes. A mirror materializes in the air, conjured by Storace. Sienna steps towards it. Her crimson eyes, burning like embers, split apart to reveal cores of concentrated malice, glinting yellow within. Her eyes, now known as the cursed eyes, gaze at the reflection in the mirror. She sees her own frail, pure soul and the righteousness will that resisted the temptation of revenge. She sees the futile yearning and hesitation to return to a happy past, her love for her sister, and the heartache that consumed her. These are things I no longer need. They are meaningless to me now. Blade, for our shared destiny, I will cut them away. Sienna raises blade and slashes at her reflection in the mirror. The mirror shatters into countless pieces, shards that can never be restored. Around the motionless Sienna, countless faces she can no longer become fall like shattered glass. A radiant face of a girl smiling at her sister, the face of a child whining and pouting, a face twisted with anxiety and fear, one stained with sorrow and despair. Now, all that remains within me is hatred, resentment, fury, and the power of these cursed eyes. The only thing necessary to me is vengeance. It makes me whole. Storace's ominous laughter echoes, filling the space. At last, you've carved away the hollow, meaningless specters of your former self. You have truly been reborn, my chosen disciple. You are now one to fulfill my purpose. You are my apostle. Now, what will you call yourself? Sienna grips blade tightly. The violet sword suddenly gleams with a sharp yellow light. She stares into the brilliant glow. Her yellow eyes reflected in the pale, gleaming sword. With eyes no longer human, Sienna peers at herself and once again comes to terms with the truth. Her veins no longer carry human blood, but the venomous essence of a fiend. Just like Sienna herself, Blade has become an evil sword. A name, huh? Breaking her silence, Sienna speaks calmly. Blade. I am a sword of vengeance, nothing more, nothing less. And that is the end of The Awakening, Crimson Destiny. Thanks for watching and listening to me read the story. Hope you enjoyed.
Cutie bunny.